Diary of an Oxygen Thief by Anonymous. So, this book was published in 2006 anonymously. It's not every day that you see somebody publish a book anonymously, although, after reading this one, I can definitely see why you might. Um, this book was kind of an unexpected bestseller, and it has today something of a reprehensible reputation due to the content and the attitudes on display by the narrator. Because this book purports, at least, to be a true story. I don't really know if it is or if it entirely is, although I definitely could believe it. I definitely could see it being a true story. But this book, judging by the reviews on Goodreads, uh, arouses a lot of ire in a lot of people, and I totally understand why now, having read it. I don't even think it has like a 3-star rating on Goodreads because so many people just loathed it, and not without good reason. But I wanted to read it because any book that can elicit such strong reactions has to be at least interesting, right? And this book was interesting. Um, the plot of Diary of an Oxygen Thief is pretty simple and kind of uneventful. It is just the, it is again purported to be the memoirs of an anonymous, unnamed narrator who enjoys emotionally wounding women and then is writing us this experience because he eventually got his comeuppance of a sort when he entered into a relationship with a woman who enjoyed doing the same thing as he did. That's pretty much it. It skips around in time a lot, and it covers a period of, I guess, several years or maybe like a decade or so. It covers some time, and the nature of the narration is that it shifts temporally, oftentimes without warning. I don't know if this was an intentional literary attempt at like some kind of Faulknerian stream of consciousness thing, or whether it was just a scattershot author trying to get their thoughts down and doing it kind of haphazardly. I don't know, but this book was uh, definitely a mixed bag. So many people hate this book because the narrator is such a douchebag, and literally this book defines douchebaggery. This dude is as a raging asshole. But then again, he never apologizes for that. I mean, he never makes any kind of excuses for that. He is very upfront by saying that, yeah, I was a dick. I treated women like shit. But then it happened to me, and then I got a new perspective on it, kind of. So it's at least kind of, there is a degree of self awareness on display here, although a lot of people would say probably not enough. But it's definitely okay to dislike this book due to what it contains, the content of it. That's totally fine. But I see a lot of reviews saying that this book is just horrendously written, that it's a talentless writer, that it doesn't really show any skill in writing. And I would actually disagree with that. I found this book to be mostly well written. I thought it was actually a decently written book. The shifts in time and the temporal jumps can get a little confusing, and it definitely that's why I can definitely believe that this is a true story, because it reads like someone writing down their life experiences and just doing it as it comes to them. Like, there is a really intimate kind of feel when you read this because of the way it just abruptly jumps around, like he's just remembering this, this, and this. And so it lends a real aura of authenticity to it, I think. But I thought it was mostly well written. He has a good grasp of language, whoever this guy is, I guess. But the one funny thing, though, the one thing that made me chuckle is that he continually, throughout this book, he continually says, if this ever gets published, if this ever sees the light of day, if what I'm writing here ever, if other eyes than mine ever see what I'm writing here, uh, it was a self-published book, dickhead. Like, you keep saying, well, if someone ever decides to publish this, you published it. It was a self-published book, dude. Like you're so it's just I said it was self-aware and it is up to a certain point, but there's just that kind of again, it's just kind of ironically comical where he's like, I doubt this will ever get published, but then he went and self-published it himself, so it got published. But the guy, whoever this guy is, if he is real, if this is genuinely a true story, this dude really was, like I said, just a raging asshole. So he gets off by like getting in a relationship with women, and then just after a certain point, building up trust and a functional normal relationship, and then after a time, he just treats them like complete shit, and he just acts like a complete dick to them and everything, and he likes that, but then he doesn't he never says that you should cut me any slack because of that, or that this in any way wasn't reprehensible. Although he does kind of try to make an excuse where he's like, I was a victim of abuse. It's that whole thing that's so popular nowadays where it's like if you're a victim of abuse, that kind of gives you the right to perpetuate the same thing. You can see that I think in the news quite a bit. But his examples of what he had to undergo was nothing. Like he gives one brief example of him saying something to his dad, and then his dad just told him off or treated him like crap or something. And then like that one instance, he's like, I am now psychologically damaged, and it is just inherent in me to want to hurt other people, in particular women, in a romantic capacity. And it was just really thin and not nearly convincing enough to in any way excuse this behavior, because it's inexcusable. Like this level of douchebaggery is indefensible. But there was something about this book that was maybe not likable, but certainly enjoyable and relatively engaging. I don't know that I would say this book has so much, quote unquote, literary value, but I think it does have something. It does definitely give a very intimate look at the mindset of a certain kind of person and a certain rather unlikable kind of person. Um, the dude he's also a raging alcoholic early on, but then he goes to AA and gets cleaned up, and he actually kind of reins in the douchebaggery after he stops drinking. So I would venture to guess the alcohol probably had some hand in his actions. But the first half or so of the book is just him recounting how he's broken so many hearts and just burned so many bridges, and how he just revels in it, and in between the blackouts of alcoholism. Um, but then eventually he meets up with this guy's in advertising. He's something in advertising. He's Irish, but he lives in London, but then he moves to America to pursue a career with an advertising company. And while in America, he meets this woman who is also actually Irish. They kind of have a connection because they're both from Ireland. And he meets her, and it just turns out that she is into the very same crap that he likes to do. That is, breaking hearts and taking names. And then he falls for her, and then she treats him like crap, as he has done to all the women in his life up till now. And so he kind of gets his comeuppance. But this book really does read kind of in a whiny fashion of this kind of reproachable dick trying to tell his side of the story about something that isn't really that embarrassing. The point that the reason why he says at the end of this he's writing this is because he's afraid that this woman who broke his heart has the potential to like embarrass him publicly due to some pictures she took of him or something. And so the climax, if you can call it a climax of this book, occurs in a bar where he goes to meet her, and then she has some of her friends like make fun of him and snap some pictures of him, except he's not really doing anything all that embarrassing. And when you read it, you're just like, this dude has a very fragile ego. I mean, his ego is so fragile and breakable because what she ultimately does to him in the end that he makes such a big deal over is not that big of a deal. Like you could just walk away and just put that behind you, but this guy doesn't seem capable of doing that. So this entire book is his side of the story of the time that his bitch of an ex-girlfriend embarrassed him by making fun of his dick size or something in a bar with some of her friends that nobody probably remembers except now they do because he wrote a whole book about it. This book is just, it was so odd because well, first of all, uh I think it was a self-published book, so that alone makes it unlikely that this would ever have reached the level of success that it did, but it did blow up and it became a New York Times bestseller somehow. I guess because people just were kind of taken in by this glimpse into this douchebag's relentlessly loathsome mind. And so I think it does have some kind of value to it, but it's just kind of an oddity. It really was. It's one of the weirdest books I've ever read because if it is a true story, then the whole reason why it exists is just kind of petty and not really all that important. But again, some people love this. This did have some really positive reviews on Goodreads. This seems to be one of those love it or hate it experiences. There were some people that were like, this book was revelatory and eye opening and a very insightful glimpse into this guy's mind and the mindset of this kind of person. And then the other half were just like, this guy was a dick and this book is crap. I don't really think this book is crap. I definitely think this guy was a dick. But honestly, I thought the book was okay for what it was. It's just that I don't really know why it was. That's the thing. I understand what it is, but I don't know why it is so much because it doesn't seem to be that much reason why this would need to be told, except as he tells us repeatedly throughout the work, it's like conversational therapy. He's trying to exorcise some demons by writing this out. And so, yeah, we got Diary of an Oxygen Thief by Anonymous. So, Diary of an Oxygen Thief. Have you read Diary of an Oxygen Thief? If you have, let me know down in the comments what you thought about it, whether you have agreed or disagreed with anything I have said about it here today. If you have not read Diary of an Oxygen Thief, I don't know, you might like it if you like pettiness and emotional cruelty and um, douchebaggery. You might like it. It's a really short book. I read it in a day. It's only 151 pages, I think, so it's not any big time sink, but it is kind of interesting in a curiosity kind of way. But yeah, and as always, if you have enjoyed anything you've seen or heard here today, remember to like, subscribe, help the channel out a little bit, and until next time, peace.